to talk about the math. In the 4th and 5th grade folder, you will find that you have both a practice test, and in the 4th grade folder, they put in the reference sheet. This is the same reference sheet that it is for 5th grade as well, except Ms. Murdza says for the formulas for area and perimeter. So the students get to use this during the test. Any materials they use, they have to put their name on and turn in. They're not going to bring it home, but we are working with these in class. They should be familiar with them and whatnot. One thing I would like for you to notice, since we've already talked about all the reading, is if you look through your packet, they're not just asking them to add 3,927 and 7,250. It's put into a word problem. So you have to read very carefully. Students have been taught the method to find the important information, what's extraneous, what numbers they need to use, and what operation they're going to use. You will also find that many of the questions are not a one-step question. There's going to be 2 and 3 steps to solve these problems. And as we've reiterated before, you miss a step, you miss the question. There are grids. There is bubbling. This is the grid that students have to fill in. Historically, even though we do practice with these and they are on our district benchmark now and we're using them in class, students will either forget to write the numbers. They have to actually write the digits in the little boxes above, and then they have to go down and bubble those numbers, the corresponding numbers. If they don't do that, the computer may not read it. So I've had students do one and not the other. Either they'll write the numbers and forget to bubble, or they'll just bubble and think they're done. And unfortunately, we can't go back and say, you need to fix that. So we need to make sure that that's done. She wants to add something.
So in 5th grade, the standards get a little bit more deeper than 4th grade. So for example, with the grids, we're currently in 5th grade working on our fraction unit, converting improper fractions to mixed numbers and mixed numbers to improper fractions. They cannot grid a mixed number. They have to convert that mixed number into an improper fraction and properly bubble that in as an improper fraction. And I noticed on our last benchmark as well, when they're gridding those fractions, they're missing like a column. They're like writing 4 space 1/10. Every number has to be in a box moving from left to right or right to left. There cannot be any blank columns, or FSA will mark that wrong.
Don't start in the middle.
Don't start in the middle. It's like starting your first number in the first left box and then writing your answer or going right to left. But I tell my students, just like reading, you're writing your numbers left to right. They cannot miss any columns. It has to be in an improper fraction. Yes, and nothing in the columns that you do not use, you just keep those blank. You don't write zeros in them, you just keep them blank.
So there's like 7 or 8.
There's like 7 or 8 columns. So if the answer is just 8, hi.
Hi, thank you.
If the answer is just 8, they either have to put it all the way to the far left, the number in the box, and then go down and bubble, or they have to put it all the way to the far right and go down. They can't put it in the middle. And because there's nothing else, they are not supposed to bubble anything else. I've seen a lot of my own students wanting to bubble in all those zeros. Well, if I put that 8 over there, I just made my answer 8 million. So we've been trying to, get that into their head, that just to bubble the numbers that are there. Okay?
And also just take a quick look on the math practice test that's in your packet. If you turn to page 16 for me, please. If you look at number 9, that has part A as well and part B as well. Just as in ELA, there are multi-select, there are table graphs, and select all the expressions, which means there are going to be more than one right answer. Sometimes there are 3 answers correct, sometimes there may be 4. If you miss one, just like on ELA, the whole problem will be marked wrong. So we have been studying those test-taking strategies. Selecting all, multi-select is the same as in ELA. Any questions regarding?
There's a question like that in the 4th grade packet, number 18. It says select all of the equations. So basically they're testing whether or not your child can recognize that equation in all those different forms. And that's why if they miss one, the whole thing's wrong. Unfortunately, sometimes we have kids go through and bubble them all because they're gonna make sure they hit the ones that were right, and it's gonna be marked wrong. So they really have to know the concept to be able to pick those out.
And just one more thing, in the 5th grade packet, and I know in 4th grade as well, we've been working on like real world problems, real life math related problems. How can you use math in real life? How does it apply? And then having them write and explain, how do they know that answer? Describing the steps on how they solve that problem. Also, just I know for 4th and 5th, multiplication facts need to be, your child needs to know them fluently. We have a reflex program here that the students, it's a game. And they get to play and they move up levels and they get to create their little avatar person. It builds the fluency. Especially in 5th grade right now, all the standards in 5th grade math are built on multiplication. So you can view flashcards at home, you can do reflex at home. My kids are on Prodigy as well. It's really important that your child is studying those multiplication facts at home so they're not struggling when it comes to 1/3 times 4 or 1 1/2 times 3/4. They have to know off the top of their head, well, 6 times 4 is 24. Do you have anything to add to that?
Ms. Murdza, do you want to talk to them about why that fluency is so important? Because this is also a timed test.
Yes. Just like Ms. Silvam said, yes, Ms. Silvam, this is a time test, so they don't have all the time in the world. So if they do not know those multiplication facts and we're doing mixed numbers or improper fractions, and they're still using their fingers for 8 times 9, they're not going to finish the test. We want them finishing the test, we want them to succeed. So it's extremely, extremely important that your child is studying those multiplication facts.
They have 80 minutes to finish each session. Unless they do have accommodations that provide extra time, it's only 80 minutes per session for both math and ELA.
Yes, for math and ELA.
And the writing?
120.
Any other questions?
FSA knows your child very well, and any answer that your child can come up with is going to be in the selection. If they added instead of multiplied, the answer's going to be there, and they think they're correct. We are really promoting that your child check their answer so that if it doesn't work out, the answer they bubbled must be wrong, and to start again, try something else. We've also been working on using the strategy of working backwards. I have a lot of children that are struggling with division because they don't know their multiplication facts. When you see 9 and 27, that 3 should pop into your head. It doesn't, because they don't know their fluency. So what I'm saying is, if your child adds instead of subtracts, if it's order of operations and they do it in a different order, they're gonna find their answer. They're gonna think they're correct, so they need to be checking it. But if you work backwards sometimes and take the answers and plug them into the problem and see which one works, they could have a little more success. So we've been talking about working backwards and using the answers to find the right one. Might take a little bit more work, but if a student that doesn't know how to divide and the answer is down there and you multiply it times your divisor, they're gonna find it, okay? Anything else left? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. Crosby, if I don't know my child's reflex login, how can I get that so they can practice between now and the test?
Contact your teacher. If you're Miss Crosby's, the teacher name is what? N. Crosby.
What's Miss Murdza's?
And their lunch number.
And Murdza. And your password is your?
Lunch number. Well, for mine, it's just the lunch number. But you can also use the fsassessments.org and go on and see the different questions. You can actually Google FSA type questions, and they'll come up with things they've released because they keep changing it. So there's lots and lots of practice out there. Okay? Any other points? Questions? No?